rev up your engines for the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast with Big E. Proudly sponsored by Christensen Law, where bikers helping engine bikers is more than just a motto. It's our commitment to the biker community. Be sure to tune in and listen to the latest news and biker buzz. And for all your personal injury needs, be sure to contact the Christensen Law team at 248-900-9000. Welcome to the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast, where the rubber meets the road and the tales of the ride unfold. I'm Big E, your guide on this two-wheeled adventure. Life is short, bikers, so let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Today in studio, we have OG.
Hello.
And Joseph Genayel.
Got it.
All right. he's been coaching me, folks. All right. So let's just start right off on this. Joseph is the founder of
Project Brotherhood Resolve.
Brotherhood Resolve.
And we operate out of Lapeer, Michigan. I'm a veteran. We're veteran-owned, veteran-operated, and we are a nonprofit that does financial assistance for veterans in hopes of preventing homelessness and suicide.
So very important.
That's the sum of it.
That's the sum of it.
Awesome.
And you've been around since when?
2016 is when I started PBR, not to be confused with Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Right. And you have a website, projectbrotherhoodresolve.org.
.org, but we don't do a lot of stuff on the website. There's three of us three of us board members. We're all volunteers, so we don't have a lot of time to focus on all aspects of running a business. We focus more on our Facebook page. We feel more people engage our Facebook page than our website. Websites were very cool in the early, late 90s, early 2000s. Right. Now it's more like social media. So we're engaging more of our social media. We do keep a few things on the website, but it hasn't been updated in about a year. Most of our financials and our, meeting and agendas are on the website, except for 23 and 24. We haven't caught up to that yet. But you can see where the money's going. We want to be transparent as possible. Like I mentioned earlier, all of us are volunteers. We don't get paid. So we donate. The most precious thing we have is our time and effort to helping veterans and make sure that, nobody falls through the cracks as much as we can. That's our goal, is to plug in the gap where either, VA or other organizations that can't help, that's where we come in and help out.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so right here on the website. Yep. I mean, we're pretty much, I think everyone's aware, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. Over 35,000 homeless veterans on the street on any given day.
Average,
that
yes.
is sickening.
Disgusting.
Yes.
And how many of those people are coming across the border and getting
free stuff?
Yeah, stuff when we should be taking care of our veterans.
I'm not sure if you heard about that when it first started, coming across the borders and all that. There's an organization out of New York. I don't know the name of it, but it was a nonprofit, and they used to pay for hotels for veterans, and they were up to date and everything. And that hotel ended up kicking out the veterans to put illegal immigrants in there.
I do recall hearing about that, actually. Yep.
And then there was another one where the headlines were wrong, but they kind of got the thing across. It's where there was $400 million, I think it was, that was taken away from the Department of Veteran Affairs and put towards immigration. And
Oh, wow.
the intent for that money, well, the funny part, well, depending on how you look at it, is they used the same company that the VA outsources their treatments and physicals and all that. ICE used that same company to do physicals and whatnot for illegal immigrants, and they used that $400 million to pay for it. So it's like kicking the nuts from our own people
kidding.
that
So not only taking the money away, but actual the resources of the people that.
Yeah.
Wow. It's
So
like double dipping.
Great. Yeah. But still backed up on VA appointments and all that everywhere you go, and you still got a lot of complaints of things not happening and not happening in time, and you still got veterans unfortunately taking their lives, and actually we're seeing more geared towards homelessness at this time because obviously inflation is hurting a lot of people. You're starting to see some jobs changing, going automation versus
More and more.
in-person. So you're getting a lot more people that,
I'm sure California and their fast food workers is going to see an increase in their kiosks at the McDonald's.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
It's a lot cheaper than $20 an hour.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not a recent innovation or whatever you want to call it. I used to travel a lot for my paying job, for one of my paying jobs, and I worked down at Detroit Arsenal in Warren, and there's a gas station right outside of the Yellow Airlines parking bus over there. And they've been automated since I can remember, and that was at least about 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
They only had one or two people working the back, and you just went up there, ordered on a kiosk, swiped your card, and they just came out 5 minutes later with your food. So it wasn't like, something new, but it's like tested and proven kind of thing. You gotta test it over time and figure out what's going on. And I'm not sure if you have it around here. The Myers by me, they have an automated inventory robot.
Oh, really?
Literally, it's a little mini robot. Just AI goes out by itself and checks inventory of the entire store. So now you don't have to worry about employees staying over after everything goes to check inventory.
You'd like to have that at Walgreens, wouldn't you?
I would have. I have seen their robotic floor mopper.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
I've seen those.
that at Menards.
Yep.
And it's pretty interesting. So, yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time until all of it gets perfected. And next thing you know, we're...
Look at all the self-checkout,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's, yeah.
I mean, personally, I love the self-checkout. I'm faster.
Usually.
But
You don't
there's
get
a lot of people who don't.
But you don't get a tax receipt for working at that place at the end of the year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like-
The part I hate about the self-checkout is, okay, I have never, until probably a week ago, when I've been at Meijer, been asked by someone to see my receipt.
Yep. You trust
One
me
time,
to self-check
and
Leave me
I mean,
alone.
that's it.
Yeah.
Now, Walmart the other day, we were in there, and we went through a cashier's lane. And everything we bought, we had put in laundry baskets because it was all Easter stuff for the girls.
Right.
And we were just filling up Easter baskets with
Right.
cleaning supplies and that kind of a lame Easter, but they're not kids anymore. So the lady is sitting there on her walker, spun around, sitting on her walker with her nose on her phone, not paying attention. And then we walk up there and she has to see our receipt. If she had been doing her job, sitting there paying attention to who was coming through what lane,
Yeah.
that probably wouldn't have happened.
Probably not.
And I was very, very tempted to say something because that's just who I am. And of course, 2 hits like, shh, shh, shh. I'm like, you're right. You know what? It's Easter Sunday. I'll behave.
Yeah.
Well, you should do a better job not looking like the profile.
Yeah. Anyways, enough about that. We'll get off that
We got
tangent.
sidetracked there.
Yeah.
On track.
All right. Back on track. We squirrel in here all
do
the time.
all the time,
It is.
so.
And
happens.
it's Friday, and
Yep.
Joe was gracious enough to drive 3 hours over here. I am familiar with that drive because my son actually lives in Lapeer.
Okay.
And we went over there.
Fun drive. Very scenic.
More fun on a motorcycle.
It is.
But it is a little cool today.
Appreciate that.
No problem. I know when we started talking, you brought up the opportunity to do it like over the phone, but I think it's a little bit more engaging and personable when you're here.
It's a lot more fun.
100%.
Unfortunately, you have a 3 hour drive, so you can't.
That's fine.
Enjoy an adult beverage with us.
I enjoy driving,
but
appreciate the offer though.
So, how we got started talking was through Ken, I believe. Introduced us, and he is from Chapter 65 of the Freedom Cruisers.
Yeah.
And they are putting on a ride.
Yeah, they're putting in a poker run, which is going to benefit Project Brotherhood Resolve.
Right.
It's trying to remember everything. I got so much stuff going on that I know it's in June. Let me look up the date again.
I can pull up here. I had it pulled up.
June 15th. There it is.
Saturday, June 15th.
We're starting at Race in Lapeer, and it's going to be about 100 miles. There's about 3 different bars involved, and then they're ending at the Lapeer VFW Post 4139. So it's going to be a fun ride. We've got a lot of groups that are interested in it that are chiming in. I believe they have a couple of different chapters of the FCRC coming in as well from out of state, and different clubs and groups that are going to come in and join on the ride. So it's going to be a fun ride, full of exciting adventures and everything. And pretty much they put it out for a couple of organizations. So the FCRC does their poker runs every year, and they wanted to donate to a charity, and they kind of put it out. And there was about 4 or 5 different charities that kind of put in the pot, and
right.
Project Brotherhood was picked. So it's like very excited. We've done some work, not directly with the FCRC, but involving them, a couple of different rides and all that. And it wasn't like them doing something like they're doing right now, where it's like directly benefiting PBR. So kind of exciting to do. I'm part of that VFW as well, so I've seen them hang out over there and chill out, and sat down and talked to a few of them. So very, very nice group of guys. They do a lot for the community over there. They sponsored a couple of the special needs kids around town, so they kind of go out there and. Actually, I think one of them's birthday's this weekend, I believe, Luke, and they're going to go out there and, show force and show support and give Luke a couple of rides around the block and all that. So,
cool.
Very engaging.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't Ken; it was Bob Novak.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bob.
And Bob and I, we were formerly with the FCRC.
Okay.
Over in this area.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, we won't go into that.
Yep.
We are no longer a part of that group. We actually started our own club.
Okay.
But I remain contact with Bob. He's a super nice guy. We've chatted at length on the phone. And they are very involved, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's always good to have groups like that involved in the community because, yes, it's 2024 and you still got a lot of people that give bikers a bad name, and people think bikers are still bad news and all that, but then you sit here and you actually pay attention to what many of those clubs do, and there's a lot of support for community. There's a lot of support for veterans. There's a lot of support for, kids and special needs and all that. And I think people are still in the old mentality. If you drive a Harley and you got tattoos and
it's
jacket,
the TV. They watch too much TV.
Yeah,
Sons of 70s and 80s TV.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, there's a reason why they call them 1%ers, because they are really about 1% of the actual biking community.
Right.
But I mean,
the other 99% are.
Honestly, like even them sometimes in certain instances, they're not always fighting each other. We used to have Friday night bikes in Lapeer. I'm not sure if you've been to any of them, especially about 4 or 5 years ago when it first started. And we used to have different 1%er groups over there. And One would hang out on one side of the street and the other one on the other side of the street, and you just keep the peace.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't have any issues, but
it's all about respect. So if they're both respecting each other, there's no problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
That's the good thing. Like I said, 99% of the biker community, they're just normal people on bikes that support communities. So
And I think Dexter, the podcast dog, is pissed off that he's not in the podcast room. He's out there barking.
Out there barking. Yeah, mine's sitting.
All right. So let me go over this. Freedom Cruisers Riding Club, Chapter 65, Charity Poker Run, Saturday, 6/15/2024. 9 a.m. registration starts at Ray C's. Harley and Lapeer, coffee, water, juice, and pastries will be available.
Oh yeah, right off M24,
Yep.
right off of 69. So
Yep.
it's not hard to miss.
It's a pretty cool Harley.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you haven't been there. $10 per rider, $5 per passenger. I mean, that's pretty darn reasonable.
And they're not just doing bikes; they're doing everything. So you want to show up in your vehicle because you don't feel like riding, or you don't have a bike and want to support. You're more than welcome to show up as well.
10:45 safety brief en route. Road captain, road blockers set. 11 a.m. kickstands up. 4 o'clock last bike in. Ride will end at the VFW in Lapeer.
Yep.
For more information, please call 320-491-9397 and leave a message for Baldy. Rain date is 6/22/2024. I really like when events do that.
Yep.
They give a rain date.
The rain dates. Comes in handy.
So there's going to be a 50/50 silent auction, food, cash bar.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently the band Gear Key will be providing live music. And then the proceeds are to benefit
Project
Brotherhood Resolve. Mission preventing suicide and homeless through financial intervention for the veterans and their families, which is awesome. Great cause.
That's what we do.
So we exchanged swag earlier.
Yeah. So I do. I talked about my day job. That's
right.
That's the one that pays the bills. Then I got into real estate a couple of years ago as well. That's about just my third year, so it's kind of picking up right now. But real estate, obviously, it's a sales job, and it's one of those things where you got to play the market and go up and down. And for me, it's slow, but for the folks for a lot of seasoned folks, there's a lot of business out there that's coming back, and this is it's not retail where you're not having people walk in the door kind of sales.
Right.
So it's like you have to build a pipeline and a referral program, because once you get to that point where 80 to 90% of your client are calling you based on somebody else's recommendations, then you survive and doing good. So I'm still building that. I tend to spend a lot of time focusing on building a nonprofit as well, because we've been growing over the last almost 10 years. 9 years, I believe now. 2004, 2016, Common Core math, 10 years.
Yeah.
So in and around, and I try to interject the real estate in there as well. One thing just a quick go around for real estate for a cause in Grand Blanc, Michigan. We partnered up with about 30 to 40 different nonprofit organizations. Anywhere from kennels to obviously PBR, so veteran related. We have an organization that builds beds for children, for needy children that don't have beds. We work with Whaley's, we work with CRIM, and a few other organizations. And the concept of operation is the real estate agent donates a portion of that commission that they make to the choice of the client or the choice of the agent, if there isn't any. So mine is Project Brotherhood Resolve. The concept of operation is 5%. I do 10%. Goes a long way. Helps out in different ways as well. So that's what I try to focus on. So it's kind of tying everything together with me actually going out there and doing the work, getting people into homes, and helping them sell their houses as well. I work both sides. And then the veterans get something out of it as well.
Very awesome.
So it's all tied in.
That's very cool.
And you are a veteran yourself. So thank you for your service.
Yep, I retired out of the Illinois National Guard back in 2001 or 21. I joined in 2001. Did 20 years at Transportation 88 Mike, for those of you familiar with that. Retired as an 88 Zulu, which, I was Master Sergeant, and did about 4 deployments that they let me go on. 3 to Iraq, 1 to Kuwait, 2 to Iraq, and 1 to Afghanistan. And I probably volunteered for another 4 or 6 in between of those, and pretty much told me to kind of stay home for a little bit.
Take some time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No.
Well, it's really cool that, being in real estate, you're kind of uniquely positioned to be able to actually put your work and your knowledge into finding homes and helping people. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And, I like helping veterans. Obviously, there's some changes coming down the pipeline right now. I'm pretty sure, there's people out there that know or have heard of the lawsuit that the National Association of Realtors just put a settlement out for. It's going to affect low-income buyers, and it's going to affect veterans in certain ways. Not because I could sit here and talk about it probably all night, but just to kind of recap it, give it a quick one. So first part is as agents come July, we no longer will be able to advertise if our brokerages are reimbursing the buyer side agents. We could sit here and do a whole podcast on how that works, and I don't want to take away because we want to focus obviously on the ride and all the cool stuff. So that's the first part, is that's going away. So now we have to do a little bit more communicating with the listing side and try to do a little bit more concession work, which is the seller giving us money, giving the buyer money to cover cost. The issue with the veterans is the VA does not allow the veteran to compensate the buyer's agent. All right, so if I'm a veteran and I'm looking for a home, the VA does not allow me to pay my real estate agent. Now, that's always been like that. So we've kind of always worked out the concessions, and if it was being offered from the listing side, then it was being offered from the listing side. There was no worries about it. How can it affect it? What's happening in July? How can that affect veterans? Is if a veteran decides to go directly through the listing agent, which in some cases it happens in Michigan, you can do dual agency as an agent, which is representing both sides of the deal. You got to remember that the listing agent has the best interest of his client, which is the seller.
Right.
So if you as a buyer, just in general, not just a veteran, but if you as a buyer decide to go directly through the listing agent and you don't sign an agency agreement, which is pretty much binding that agent to you to represent you, then that agent's sole responsibility is to the seller. Now, he can give you guidance, but he doesn't necessarily represent you as the buyer.
Right.
So, you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Someone's going to get screwed on that
Big
one.
time.
You know what I'm
Definitely,
saying?
yeah.
So I talked to my broker in regards to that, and I told him, if things go downhill with whatever's going on with the National Association of Realtors, me personally, if because at the end of the day, all real estate agents are contractors that work for a brokerage, and your brokerage is the name that you go to real estate for a cause, Remax, Century 21, all that. They're all brokers.
Right.
So I talked to my broker, really nice guy, and I told him, hey, if it comes to it and I get a veteran buyer and there's no commissions and we can't negotiate concessions, I'm going to go ahead and just represent him for free if you're okay with that. Because I feel at the end of the day that, any representation is better than no representation. And then I kind of refer back to what I said earlier about building up your pipeline as a real estate agent. Those veterans don't just know other veterans. They got family members, they got brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, and all that. And at the end of the day, referral business is better than sitting right here trying to find your own business.
Right.
Definitely. Definitely.
So coming back to the ride, I want to take a quick second actually to thank the chapter president, Rick Gonzalez. I think he goes by Tazzy. I think Taz Taz. There we go. He goes by Taz. So I want to thank him for giving us Project Brotherhood Resolve that opportunity to actually be the beneficiary of the poker run, and helping us spread our name out as well, because we're going to see so many bikers out there. They're going to want to learn about what we do and all that. So that's word of mouth is the best advertising, getting our word out there to help the veterans. That's the best thing we could do. So
awesome. Chapter 65 is, they are a hard-working chapter.
They are. There's a lot of community involvement in Chapter 65.
They're always doing something.
Yeah.
I'm always seeing stuff on their Facebook.
Yeah, I know they have. I know they have at least one other ride planned. I'm trying to get Bob to come over here and sit in the podcast room. We did a podcast for him last year for the Karina's ride, and we did it like way early. It was like, I want to say we were still single digit podcast episodes when we recorded it, and his was like episode 20. So he's like, when are you going to drop it? When are you going to drop it? Well, I'm waiting. I want to get it closer to the ride. Oh, yeah. All right. But good group. Got nothing but love for Chapter 65 over there. One of these days we're going to get over there and ride with them.
Bring us.
Oh my God.
With you,
That silly dog of mine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Harley, knock it off. That's, you can't.
Should have named him Honda.
You probably, been quieter. All right. So Chapter 65 is put on a ride.
Yep.
Out of Rayce's in Lapeer, Michigan.
Yes, sir.
Again, Rayce's is an awesome Harley dealership. We went over there.
And Ray and Junior, both of them are very big on veterans.
And very involved in their community as well.
Yes. First time I met Ray C was actually the very first event I did for PBR. It's a 23-mile ruck march or walk for veteran suicide awareness. We still do this event now as well. It's been about 9 years since we've done it. And he was one of the first people I kind of talked to. And open arms, received with open arms, and sat down and listened to what I had to say. And it's like, at that time, nobody even knew who I was, let alone Project Brotherhood Resolve.
Right.
It's like we just started the organization. We weren't even a 501c3 at the time. We had applied, waiting for the application, just trying to kickstart. And I walked in and I'm like, hey, I introduced myself. I'm a veteran, and, this is what I'm doing. And just turned around, sat down, and started talking about everything. And he has some family members that were veterans that fell to suicide as well, and it's like, so got a little bit personal over there.
Yeah, and that affects a lot more people than most people realize.
Yeah. So the issue with suicide, not just veteran suicide in general, is there's it affects more people than you think. And if you want to know how many people care about you, just die. Like, I'm not telling people to commit suicide.
Oh, no,
No, but you're right.
But honestly, if you want to know how many people care about you, just, you'll find out. You might not know, but you'll find out at your funeral. That many people are going to show up.
So,
a lot more people than you think.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how down and out you are, there's more people than you think.
It hit me a few times, too, because, I in contact with a few people from high school. I'm in contact with maybe one or two people from college, a few people from my deployments here and there. But I sit here and once in a while, I run into something like about a year ago. I ended up linking up with one of the guys from college, and he's become a big DJ, like globally known DJ. And DJ Q11, if you guys want to look up, he's in Chicago. Don't ask me for tickets. But I linked up with him, and we're sitting there talking and whatnot, and he's like, "Man, like you don't know, but like I used to look up to you all the time. Like you had that heart on the football field. Everybody was bigger than you, but you went out there and just started kicking it." And it's like, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? I got people, like, I'll post some stuff on Facebook or whatnot, and then all of a sudden I'll get somebody, like, a year later, "Hey, man, like, you used to post all this stuff, and it was inspirational. Why'd you stop?"
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, you don't really know how many people you affect just because, like, a lot of people don't show it to you or aren't in your face or in your feed or in your Facebook about it every single day of your life doesn't mean that you're not affecting people. And your absence is probably going to be detrimental to a lot of people.
Way more than you think.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Like I sit here and I think about it, like, what if I didn't take a step into starting PBR? What would have happened to everybody that we've supported since inception? Obviously we're not to the level of Wounded Warrior Project or any of those, Michigan Veterans agencies or anything like that. We're not making millions. We barely broke 80,000 last year. But those guys that we help.
But I mean, even if it was only one person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like the families that we kept housed, the people that we kept working because we helped them fix their car, or we actually helped one veteran with his attorney fees because of his ex-wife, and it's like, they were getting ready to take away his kids and put him in jail, and it's like,
yeah,
shit.
Yeah,
and it's like, just recently we just paid a guy. We just helped. We worked with the Refuge. And out of Lapeer and Love Inc. out of Lapeer to pay this veteran's car repair so he can continue on. And they finally found him an apartment to move into as well. And so what makes kind of PBR unique as well is we're not limited to who we can help as far as veterans. I intentionally did that. We don't look at the type of discharge for who we can help. We're all human. And yes, there is a percent of people who do very, very serious, stupid stuff. And life is life. But you got a percentage of people that, get caught up in something, and that's not who they really are. They just,
had a bad day.
Yep. had some extra drinks. Their supervisors pissed them off, and they told them off in the military. It's not the brightest thing to do sometimes. The next thing you know, they're getting slammed or discharged and all that. We have a success story with that. We had a veteran that had a less than honorable, and we helped him. He got out of the trailer park, moved into his own house a couple years ago. Got a nice job going on for him right now. Helps out his dad, who's also a veteran. So we got some good success stories, and then unfortunately on the flip side, you got the people that want to take advantage. So
always that.
So we're not a hand me down organization where we're gonna pay your bills all the time. We're more of a focused on being like a foundational, like rebuild yourself, get back on your feet, get back up and going. So we'll help out here and there once or twice, maybe 3 times, depending on the situation. We did have a veteran, unfortunately, just passed away last 2 weeks ago or last month, I think. But we helped him for about 1.5 years, and that's because he was waiting on his SSI to kick in. But as soon as it did, he just gave us a call. He's like, "Hey, my Social Security kicked in, and you don't have to help me out anymore." So we appreciate that as well. But
right.
We cover as much as we can emergency bills, and the unfortunate part is usually we get veterans that are about to get kicked out of their home, so it's either like a foreclosure notice or eviction notice or light shutoff notice and all that, and it's a veteran thing. I explain that to people, especially civilians, people who haven't been in the military, and it's like, because they're always asking, like, we don't understand why, and it's like, I understand why, because so there's a lot of times that I don't practice what I preach, but, I know where it's coming from because I've been there on both ends of it. And where it comes down into is, anybody who's been in the military, I'm going to take a shot at the new generations. I don't know about you guys, but anybody who's been in the military will tell you, like, the military will teach you how to try to be self-sufficient, because when you are out in combat, there may be some time that you're going to have to figure this shit out on your own.
Right.
So that's the way the military builds you up. I'm not sure about the Navy, but,
Wow. That's fired.
You can sit here and take shots all day. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you sit here and you hear some of these stories, like all these badasses, Audie Murphy jumping on a burning tank,
right,
holding off an entire Nazi battalion all by himself or whatever, and it's like, that's what the military teaches you to do. Like, hey, sometimes you're going to be out there all by yourself. When I know when I was going through basic training, back in 2001, there was a cadence that said, someday you'll be all alone in a combat zone, Yeah. And it's like, cadences aren't just there to keep you on step. They're there to mold your mind into thinking in a military way.
Right.
And, it's like, you sit here and you think about it. It's like, all right, the military taught me to be self-sufficient, but then on the flip side, the military also told you to rely on a team, right? So we come out. I know the Army's recently, in the last about 5 or 6 years, developed a program to help people transition. But before that, it was, hey, here's your DD-214. Thank you for your service. Have a good day. There wasn't really any kind of transition program, And now there finally is. Like, they want to make sure people have a job after they get out, or are going to school, or have a set plan before they get out of the military. And that's a requirement for them to do that. How efficiently they're doing that? Let's look at the VA. But no questions asked.
Right.
Right.
But so you have a lot of those soldiers, Marines, sailors that just left the military, and all of a sudden the structure that was there, getting up, being in formation at a certain time, doing PT in the morning. These are your lunch breaks, your breakfast, your dinner, you're out at this time. This is your chain of command. That's a very important one, right? Like, you knew exactly where you were in the chain of command based on your rank and your position. That was your hierarchy.
Right.
Right.
And now
you get out into the civilian world, nobody's waking you up early in the morning to be in formation in the right uniform at the right time.
Right.
Right.
You don't have the routine.
Right. You're not, there's no physical examination twice a year that you have to be fit for anymore. Now you got to pay for the gym instead of the gym being free, You got to pay for your food mostly, instead of it being somewhat free. Unfortunately, not the case anymore, apparently. But, there was a lot of things that were like, just there for you to do, and then all of a sudden you get out, and it's not a transitional thing. It's just done.
Right. That's got to be shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, like, what do I do with my life? And if you look at the mortality rate of people who, especially folks who do like 40 years in the military, right, lifers, they do 40 years in the military, they get out. If they don't end up in a job somewhere within 5 years, they're dead.
Wow.
Because just body composition changes, routine changes, everything changes. I mean, you notice it in our elderly too. People retire out of jobs. They've been working factory jobs or whatever for 40 years, out on their feet. And then all of a sudden they retire, and 2 years later they're dead.
Yeah,
they're not moving it on.
They're not moving. They don't feel like they have a purpose.
Right. Exactly. So that trickles down and leads to different things. So the second part is, you find a job, but you don't know what the hierarchy is, because everybody's out there playing bumper cars because there's nobody to sit here and put people in their place.
Especially nowadays, I mean, the quote-unquote command structure in jobs
it's not existent.
It's not existent.
Oh, I know.
Your boss is treating you like shit. You tell him he's treating you like shit. Now everybody else is treating you like shit, and you can't do anything about it, because the first thing they're going to do is go cry to HR about, he's doing this and that and that. And it's like, what do I do in my life?
And then about 4,200 more complaints will do something and sit them down and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's...
Or, like where I work, we'll have one person that does something, fucks up. We put a memo out. So everybody gets the memo. And we're like, well, it ain't me. We all know who it is.
That's a huge pet peeve of mine, too.
We all know who it is. And it's like, Why didn't you just take him in the office and tell him what he did wrong?
Deal with that person.
Deal with that person.
Yeah.
The military is moving into that too. We called it the reason for a safety brief, right?
Right.
The reason for a safety brief, and what happens now is one person messes up, and all of a sudden you have an entire formation. Depending on the level of mess up, you could have it anywhere from a small squad all the way up to the entire division saying, don't do that dumb shit. And it's like, who messed up?
I usually tell my trainees, the first thing I tell them is, dispatch is always right. Second thing I tell them, don't do stupid shit.
Yeah.
That covers it right there.
Yeah. That was my, I served some time as an acting first sergeant because, but when I came back from my last deployment, I already told my sergeant major, I'm getting out. So there's no reason for me to, get my diamond or anything like that and go to school for it. Because, my mind was set. You're just wasting my time and somebody else's time if you do that, if you send me there.
Right.
I'm getting out. And what ended up happening is my first sergeant ended up retiring, and me being the next highest rank, I, by proxy assumed that position. So I wasn't really frocked or promoted into it. It was just there by
default.
By default, right. The next person takes over until they find someone, right? So I ended up doing 6 months as a first sergeant, and that was my end of weekend because it was National Guard. So at the end of the weekend, that's what I would tell people, or if we're out doing, training or whatnot, and that would be my thing. Hey, don't do dumb shit. It's if you have to ask me if it's dumb, there's a 99% chance it's dumb. Right? So, but yeah, so they get out, come back, and all of a sudden things change, and you start losing hope. You mentioned that earlier of, a sense of a purpose, and you see a lot of veterans, especially ones that are going down the hole, especially combat vets that are going down that rabbit hole. And the last thing is hope, and you have the thing is there's a lot of components to it. So it's not like there's one thing to look for. There's a lot of components that go into it. And unfortunately, and I'm going to say this, and it might sound morbid or whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's that individual's choice of whether they want to say bye to the world or not. The reason I say that to people is because there's a lot of people that get involved in suicide prevention, and they put their heart into it, and they put their all into it, and all it's going to take is that one person to just say, I will no longer be here today, for that person that's helping them to go down that same rabbit hole.
Right.
What did I do wrong? Where did I miss it?
Yeah, you ask yourself
And
that.
and I tell people, I'm like, all you can do is all you could do, and at the end of the day, don't blame yourself, because you did all you could do, and we're all individual people, and that's a choice that somebody made. Now, you're not going to be able to help everybody. There's people that are like, yeah, we need to end it all. I agree, but we're not going to be able to help everybody. That's the unfortunate part. We have to face the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to help everybody. And from the people that you help, the ones that make it and survive, awesome. The ones that don't beat yourself on it, because again, it's an individual's choice.
Yeah. Well, and
I could sit here and slap a gun away from your hand all day. I could throw away the pills, flush them down the toilet, and I can give you $1 million and put you in the middle of a strip club or whatever fancy you got. And then all of a sudden you come back to whatever you're at and you say, this is it. We've seen soldiers that seemed like there was nothing wrong in life that committed suicide. They always say, look for the people that are smiling the most, because
yeah,
they're good at hiding stuff, right?
Well, so, and there's a lot of pride there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't want to swallow a little bit of that pride to ask for help.
Yep. And that's the other thing that you just hit the nail on the head, and it's ego. It's the way the military teaches you that, hey, you need to survive, you need to figure it out. They don't teach you how to work as a team again. They don't teach you how to decompress. So that's the thing. It's like, you go to combat, you come back, and you went there as a civilian, especially, if you've never been to combat before, you go there and everything changes. Like your entire life just changes. Whether you've killed anyone, whether you've shot, whether you've done, it's just being there changes you. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people that were in the middle of shitty firefights and came back totally fine, and I've seen people that never left the base come back and commit suicide. Just being over there changes. You're away from your family, you're away from your natural environment. You're seeing another culture, whether you agree with the way they do things or not, whatever. But then you're being exposed to scenarios and situations that, as a natural human being, that's not what we were created for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Abel killed Cain. We weren't created to kill each other. We were created to help each other. That's the whole purpose of us being created, is service. And for us to go out there, whether, you agree with, it's a good communist, right? You know where I'm going with that.
Right.
That one, but whether you agree with it or not, humanity at the end of the day is there to service each other, to serve each other. And you won't believe how much commonalities there is in the individual person, in the different cultures and the different religions. You sit here and you start talking to people, and it's like, oh, you do the same things I do. Yeah, you just do it a little bit different.
Right.
A lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort spent on trying to divide.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more in common that we have.
Well, the shitty thing is 10% of the people want to make 90% of the money, and that's the way to do it. You sit here and divide and conquer. I mean, even what's going on in our country right now, you got a lot of division between politics and religion and everything else, but you sit down and you talk to a lot of people, and it's like, no, I just want to live my life and get along. I don't care about anything else. You know what I'm saying? I just want to have my chickens in my backyard and grow my little garden and be happy, But you come back to it, and there's no decompression. There's no teaching you how to live as a civilian again. There's just throwing you into. So you left your personal life that you're used to for however many years. A minimum of at least 17 to 18 years, right? You're used to living this life, and you go over there, and you're thrown into the suck. And for those of you that don't know what the suck is, it's anywhere that's not home that you don't like. Right. It's called the suck, and now you have to navigate the suck, and you have shitty leaders out there that make it hard for you. You got people that are getting in your business for stupid shit that they don't need to get into your business. Your support channel might be just you, might be family at home. Heck, it might not be family at home. I mean, I've seen unfortunate parts where and this is just not limited to like a few people. I'm just giving a few examples, and this is on one deployment. My first deployment, we had one of our females was sending her money back home, and her expectations was she's going to get back home to about $40,000-$50,000 in the bank.
Right.
She got back home to about $4,000 in the bank because one of her family members who had access to the bank account was freely spending that money.
Right.
And it's like, you're my family.
Yeah.
You're doing this.
Yeah. I almost think family sometimes is the worst.
I had a guy that went home to get married and came back without a girlfriend. I had another guy, my squad leader actually at the time, and this dude, like, he should have been a model probably, you know what I'm saying? One of those guys that just got it going on. Mm. And he was being pursued by every female I could think of, And to my knowledge, it was always no, no, no. Like, he would reject him. Goes home on leave. Everything's fine. Comes back. Then he finds out that his wife was cheating on him from the get-go.
Oh, wow.
I've had people get, we call them Jody letters. I had a soldier on my second deployment. We haven't even left the country yet. So we're from Illinois. We went to Indiana to train. And, Illinois, Indiana, where we're at, was only like maybe a 2-hour drive.
Right, not far away.
We haven't even left the country yet. We're in Indiana. He gets a Jody letter, and it's like, you're 2 hours away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just stuff like that. I had that deployment. We're in Iraq, and my gunner comes to me. He went to the MWR building and made a phone call home. Comes back, and he's Puerto Rican, so he already had that look like I'm going to stab you anyway. But but he was coming at me, and it was just something about his eyes. And it's like, "What's up, Luis?" And he's like, "I gotta go home." I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "My kids woke up, and there was a bag of McDonald's on the front porch, and they can't find their mom."
Jesus.
So like, wow. She didn't even bother to put the bag of McDonald's inside the house. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what the heck?
That's
and
crazy.
Then you expect those guys,
right,
to go through combat and then come back and then be normal. My last deployment that I went, I pulled all my, usually it's a family day before everybody leaves. You get one last thing, So I pulled all my people in, and I'm like, get your families here right now. So I just had a little huddle, and I looked at everybody, and I'm like, I'm going to tell you guys this. The way you're seeing your spouses and boyfriends and girlfriends right now, remember it, because they're not going to be the same. I'm like, that's one. I'm like, two, if you plan on cheating on them, just do it right now and get it out of the way. Because when they're over there, I need them to be focused on what's going on over there. I don't need them to be focused on who you're screwing around with back here.
Right.
So if you plan on it, if you're thinking about it, just let us know right now. Get it out of the way.
Right.
Fuck off. I don't know if I can say that or not.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Yeah. Oh, we say way worse than that.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Free bird. So, it's like, get your shit out of the way.
Right.
Fuck off from the team.
Mm-hmm.
Let me run my guys, And I had people come up to me after the deployment, and he was like, you saved my relationship with my wife. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, remember when it was like, I got a short-term memory problem. It's been there for a while. A couple of deployments here and there kind of messes you up. But yeah, one of my soldiers came up and sent me a message like 7-8 months after the deployment, and he's like, "Hey, thank you, man." I'm like, "What's up?" I'm like, "What happened? What did I do? I didn't win the lotto or anything, He's like, "Remember when you pulled us all before we left, and you had that conversation with our spouses?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "If it wasn't for you having that, I probably would be divorced right now." He's like, "You're the reason I'm still married." And it's like, shit like that. It's like awesome,
Right.
Because who knows? He could have ended up being divorced and then went off and did something, And like that's the shitty thing. It's like you can't narrow it down to one thing. It's not like a trigger thing. You could see. You can have somebody that is showing all the symptoms, and that person is just having a bad, depressed day and not being suicidal. It's just having a shitty day.
Right.
You go out there and it's like, you all right, man? You need me to get... No, I'm good, man. It's just a shitty day. I'm just going to go home and sleep it off. All right, cool. And then you can have the next guy right next to him just be all smiling in your face and everything. Everything's going well. Bills are paid and all that, and disappears. And next thing you know, you find out that
right.
They did, they took their lives, and it sneaks up on you. And I told my story before, and it helped a few people out, and it sneaks up on you sometimes. It's not. You got to pay attention to your science, not somebody else's science too. A lot of people will, especially family members that never been deployed or anything like that, will just wave it off as, he went deployed, he's changed now, so that's why he's acting that way, or that's why she's acting that way, or that's why they're doing this and they're doing that, when it could actually be small signs. And us veterans need to do a better job of actually speaking out and policing ourselves when we start feeling like that. And it actually happened to me. It snuck up on me back in about 2011. Yeah, about 2011. And I don't know what happened, how it happened and all that. And I just found myself parked on the, I got home. I was still living with my parents in an apartment in Chicago, and I got home. And I found myself, it was midnight. I don't remember if I was drinking or not, but pretty much found myself sitting in the car with a gun on my head. And I just couldn't figure out why. And, you know, my saving grace was pretty much God sending a whole lot of angels to fight off the demons that I was fighting at that moment, because I just asked myself, why was I here? That was the question that I asked myself. It wasn't like, you know, oh my God, life's over or anything. It was just me sitting in a truck with a gun in my head asking myself, why am I here? And I was just bawling my eyes out. And it was like, all right, today's not the day. So I use that to tell people, because, like, you know, people look at me like, oh my God, you're running all these organizations, you're doing all this, you're doing all that, you must be good. And it's like, dude, I'm in the shittiest part of my life right now. I need those lot of numbers to hit, you know, like, but you got to go on, because, like, somebody's looking at somebody I don't know, or somebody I know is looking up at me and seeing all this, and I might be that motivation for them to continue living on or continue doing something.
Absolutely.
And, you know, last deployment, we had it wasn't one of us, it was a soldier that actually killed himself over in Iraq. Young guy, 21 years old, 21 years old. And the lucky part about that is no one else died. And the reason I say that is because he shot himself through the head in his room, and it went through the wall, across the pathway into the other container, and right over the head of another soldier.
Oh, jeez.
And that person didn't even know that a bullet went their way, because they were wearing headphones listening to music.
Oh,
the good thing is that they were laying down on the bed instead of sitting on the bed, because if that soldier was sitting on the bed, it would have hit that soldier in the head.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So, and it was literally the hooch, right? Like, so it's just like, you know, containerized units, is 3 rooms. So if you were watching the whole COVID thing in China, there are concentration camps for COVID.
Right.
These container buildings that had like 3 rooms, that's what they were, right? So I was in the middle, and that was to the left of us. And so it wasn't far away. And, you know, usually when things like that happen, the Army just kind of shuts everything down. They have a stand down to, you know, start doing their briefs again, make sure, hey, these are the channels. If you're feeling something, go talk to the chaplain, talk to someone, all that. And our colonel, great guy, he's a general now, and he came out, spoke out, and did his thing. And then he's like, you know, does anybody want to say something? And I was like, me sitting in the back, you know, kid in the back of the classroom, just raising my hand. And he's like, what's up? And I went up there, and I told him my story. And I'm like, this is, you know, a lot of you sit here and see me as this, you know, strong master sergeant that's, you know, yeah, I'm not like, you know, strict and all that, but I'm on point and I'm getting stuff done and I'm this tough dude and all that shit. But at the end of the day, like, don't be that guy. You know what I'm saying? And same thing, I got a 6 month after our deployment, I got a text message, and out of all people, it's one of the few people that I didn't get along with, right? And I think, like, the relationship would be better now if we sat down and talked, you know what I'm saying? You know how, like, back in the day, the bullies, are now best friends and all that, right?
Yeah. Billy and I.
Yeah. Billy. There you go. So it's one of those, because, like, me and her always got into it, you know? Like, oh, I was always like, oh, she's the one with the attitude. And she was like, oh, you're the asshole. Like, all right, cool. Let's freaking get on it, right? So she just sends me a message out of the blue, and it's like, hey, remember that time you went out and talked about, like, your experience? I was like, yeah. She's like, thanks for doing that. She's like, because when you went up there and talked, I thought you were just bullshitting. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I started noticing things with me that I had to catch. And had you not said anything, I wouldn't have been able to catch it and get back on the right track. And it's just little stuff like that. And at the end of the day, you gotta do yourself your own favor and work on getting the help, work on fixing yourself and getting in the right channel. And it just doesn't necessarily have to be going to the VA and popping pills. I have a friend of mine that pills work for him. God bless him. Still alive. I got people that go out there and exercise. Exercise is a big thing. It changes your chemical balance and all that stuff. Another one is we got this. Gonna advertise some stuff.
No, that's good.
So I'll leave you with this flyer too. Right. So art is a way to obviously express yourself and get your mind back in check and all that. So there's veterans that use art for therapy. Some of these veterans never touched any kind of art until they came back from deployments and all that. So we get together. This is the 4th year we do this. We call it Veterans Gallery Show. It's down in St. Clair Shores. The other side of the lake from here. But we bring in different veteran artists, and it could be any kind of art as long as you're not just drawing stick figures, calling it art, or just saw a reel on Facebook of this dude taking out a shovel and dirt on somebody else and calling it art. It's like, man, I wish I knew that. I had a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was federally funded too.
Yeah, of course. So we bring in veteran artists. We got room for about 12 to 13. They display all kinds of stuff. We've had anywhere, like I said, regular painting to woodworking to metalworks, photography, and everything else in between. So any kind of art's welcome. If you want to sell it, that's fine by us. And we're doing that from 31 May to 2 June. It's the weekend after Memorial Day weekend. We do a couple of events during that weekend, too, to try to attract people to the show. We do an opening formal. We're doing a sip and paint on Saturday, also a comedy show Saturday night. And then Sunday, we're doing a brunch and band as well.
Cool.
Everybody's welcome to the show, to come to any of the events. You don't have to be a veteran to come to the events. You do have to be a veteran to display art. There's going to be a cash bar open throughout the weekend. We're going to have some raffle items and 50/50s and stuff like that going on as well. And we just do a 10% off of the top of the sale price of the art, and then 90% goes back to the veteran. So we're not just making money for PBR to help veterans. That veteran also gets money to help them with their art, whatever they do.
That's very cool.
Lifestyle and stuff like that. So I got the flyer for that here for you.
Yeah, leave me that flyer and I'll get it out there too.
Yeah, definitely. And there's another event that we're doing. I don't have the flyer yet because we just got location approval, so we didn't want to print out a whole bunch of flyers and then be told no. But we're doing a Lapeer County Veterans Family Olympics.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome. That event is open to everybody, not just veterans. It's going to be 12-man teams. They're going to be split between male and female to make it, fair for everybody. All level of participation. You don't have to necessarily just be athletic, because we have events for everybody. So we're gonna have a 12 obstacle course. We're gonna do a 2K ruck march. We're doing some sack races. We're doing tic-tac-toe relays. Also doing dodgeball, kickball.
Yes,
we're having a
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun. It's going to be a fun time. We're doing a cardboard cutout 100-meter race. So I'm going to show you a picture, and that's the idea that came out. So what it is, you could take cardboard, build your own airplane or truck or car or whatever you want, and then you're going to race it for 100 meters. You're going to be in the thing. Right. And
it's going to be U-powered.
It's going to be U-powered, exactly, not motorized, and you're going to race it for 100 meters, Where's the doggone screenshot? I got the idea from some Air Force people that did it. So I'm trying to look for the screenshot real quick. We're also doing a couple of passive events for the folks that are disabled, can't run, but want to participate. We're doing cornhole. We're doing life-size Jenga.
Oh, nice.
Yep, we're doing life-size foosball. So we're just going to be hanging around the dowel, kicking the ball back and forth.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then the best event for that is we're doing a dunk tank softball.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Before I get there, I'm going to show you the picture of
that's cool.
That is awesome.
The cardboard
That is
cutout.
awesome.
So, you know, post that on your podcast. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So the dunk tank softball, the way it's going to work is going to be a team of 5. And you're going to have your batter who's going to be in the dunk tank.
Right.
Is going to be your batter for the duration. So that way you're not mixing water with 25 different people.
Right.
You know, so it's just 2 people, 1 from each team. The defense is just going to be your pitcher. So you're not going to have anybody on base. And if you get dunked in the dunk tank, then that's an out. If the pitcher misses 4 times, then you get to put a man on base.
Ah.
You know, no steals, nothing like that.
That sounds really
It's a
cool,
little
actually.
passive,
Nice.
it's a little bit engaging.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you don't
Sounds like
necessarily
fun,
have
actually.
to be able to run. Yeah,
Nobody's going to get injured.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And then we're having trivia. We're going to do military-related trivia, and that'll be kind of the break for the team. So that'll engage all 12 individuals. And, you know, we already figured out the grading schemes and all that. We're going to be going out there to the Lapeer Center for Innovation. So Lapeer CFI is where it's going to happen at. We're going to be going out there Saturday to kind of lay out everything and figure out where we want to put everything. If you are a veteran vendor, arts, crafts, anything like that, or a veteran food truck and would like to participate, let us know. It's our first year event, so we're not charging like $100, $200 for them to set up. Or for the food trucks, we're probably going to do like 10% of sales, just in case, you know, if they don't make anything or whatnot, you know, want to make sure that they're not
Right.
going home broke or anything like that. Yeah, so it's $30 per person, 12-man team. We haven't opened up registration yet, but be on the lookout for that. And then spectators by donation. You know, we want to make some money off of that too.
Oh, yeah.
By donation, they come in and cheer on their teams or just watch it. And, you know, first year event, we're getting some good feedback so far from it. We are looking for sponsors now that we have a location that is approved. We are looking for sponsors. We're looking to get about $10,000 in sponsorship funds to make sure the event runs. We probably already spent about $3,000 off of that, you know, that we have to recoup kind of. So,
Right.
So yeah, so if you're interested in sponsoring the event, you know, give me a call, 773-456-4716. Or you want to talk real estate? Throw that in.
Go ahead and plug that too.
Plug it in there. Woo. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun event. And then, so that's June 29th, following the gallery. And then after that, September, I think 21st is the third Saturday in September. We're doing our 23-mile ruck march for Veteran Suicide Awareness. We go from the Lake Orion Veterans Memorial on M24 in Lake Orion. We walk up to the VFW in Lapeer on M24, so it is a public highway. Just want to make sure people know. I've had people not participate and ask me to do it like on a park or somewhere. And it's like, you know, it's great. You might get a lot more people, but the whole purpose is awareness and getting conversations started.
You want to be seen.
Exactly. If I'm walking around. There's some nice parks that we could walk around, but at the end of the day, you know, it's a nice hike. You're serving your purpose of doing your part and you know, recognizing and keeping the conversation going. But we need to get the communities engaged, and it never fails. We've been doing it for 9 years, and every single year I see it on the Lapeer pages on Facebook. Hey, what are all these guys walking around for with their backpacks and their flags? And somebody. The nicer part is when you get somebody who's not even in the event. Right. Never participated in the event. They'll come on and say, oh, yeah, they do this every year for Veteran Suicide Awareness. And then that kicks off the conversation. We get people that pull off, you know, driving down the road, and they pull off at one of our water stations or even stop the walkers. Hey, what are you guys doing out here?
Right.
You know, this is what we're doing. And all of a sudden they're dropping donations and stuff like that. So that's why we do it. we get out there. We always look for volunteers. We always look for walkers. We usually have a water station set up every 2 miles. So that way it at least gives everybody an idea where they're at. We have chase cars that could pick you up anytime along the way. You don't have to walk the entire 23 miles. That's actually part of my briefing before we send everybody off is that, push yourself, but don't push yourself beyond your means. This is not buds. You're not going through SEAL school. Not
how heavy does the ruck have to be?
We actually we suggest 22 just because it's symbolic.
Right.
But we don't weigh it in before. We don't make anybody wear it. We've had people that we've had a few people that have been participating in it from 2016, and they choose. They can't carry weight, but they finished 23 miles. We've had anywhere as young as 16 years old that finished the whole 23 miles. All the way up to a 75-year-old that finished the 23 miles 2 years ago. A couple of years ago, the last 2 years, we had one gentleman that ran it. He's a veteran.
So do you time it?
We time it for the purpose of having an idea of where everything's at, how many people are coming in at what time. Usually it's about 8 to 9 hours.
I was going to say, it's an 8-9 hour day.
So we had Casey Passage, who's one of the veterans that kind of helped out personally. He runs his own fitness thing now, Casey Passage Fitness LLC. And he finished in like 5.5 hours. Jeez. And he pretty much ran
cruising.
Yeah.
So yeah, he screwed up my whole water station plan. Right?
They weren't set up.
I had to stay in front. Yeah, because he was past. Because I'm set up at about 10 to 15 minute mile pace. He's running it at about a 6-minute pace, consistent, right? Not slowing down, consistently 6 miles an hour or 6 minutes a mile for the entire 23 miles. And so I have to get in front of him with a lead car so that way I can make sure he's okay. And last year we actually had one of the young Marines. I don't remember. I think it was Lapeer County Young Marines. I don't remember. It might have been Macomb County. That was actually right behind him on his tail. So it was like Casey and then like a 16-year-old right behind him the entire time. We've had a couple of years ago, we've had the Sea Cadets join us. So they're like the Navy version of the Young Marines. And they actually, a few of them walked in a color guard formation for 9 miles.
Wow.
With the flag posted and everything. And it was like, that's some shit.
That's impressive, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we have people that, have family members or veterans that committed suicide and they come out in their memory and they push themselves as long as they can. We have people that'll tell us like, hey, I'm only going to be able to do this many miles. So we're like, all right, once you get to this checkpoint, give us a call, give you a ride back to the car or whatever, So
very cool.
Yeah, gets people engaged, gets everybody involved. It's an all-day event, and have the only complaint I could think of anyone ever having is maybe a little bit more safety on the road because you're always going to get some dust stuff. But other than that, really didn't hear any other complaints. Always the water points are on point, and it's just we have water, Gatorade, and fruit and energy bars and stuff like that to keep them going because you don't want to sit here and have a big meal walking a 23 miles.
No,
get a cramp and then you're pooping in the middle of it. But we do get porta johns out along the road as well. We get some of the businesses involved on the route. Last year, the Metamora Fire Department joined us out there as well. So you get a lot of different involvement from the community in different ways, and everything helps. So
that's good.
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of real cool stuff. It's
definitely.
Awesome.
That's
like I said, it takes away a lot of my time. So the coming back to the whole, losing hope and getting into that suicidal mindset is idle minds think too much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not saying in a good way. I'm not saying like a businessman where it's like, all right, I need to take a break to think about my next move. No, it's like you sit here and if your mind isn't engaged in doing something productive, you start thinking in the negative. And that's one thing. It's like I got so many projects going on in the house I got all these different events going on for Project Brotherhood Resolve. I'm trying to get the real estate stuff going. I got my day job stuff going.
Busy.
Keep the mind busy. That way,
keep the mind busy, keep it engaged, and
when I go to sleep at night, I just go to sleep at night, and I don't have to sit here and wonder, am I depressed? Is this? No, this is not the day. There's all these people relying on me.
Right.
There's all this stuff I got to do, and then I come back and I think about it. If today was my funeral, how many people that I didn't even think of are going to be there?
Mm-hmm. Right. That's
I wish I knew we were going to talk about that, because there's a poem. I don't know if I could find it right now. Do we have time?
You go ahead and look for it real
all
quick.
the time in the world.
I'm going to plug the ride again.
Okay.
Go to the bathroom.
Okay. So one way you can help is to join the Chapter 65 of the Freedom Cruisers on a charity poker run Saturday, 6/15/2024, and registration will be at Racey's Harley Davidson in Lapeer, Michigan at 9 a.m. $10 a rider, $5 for passenger, which is super cheap for most rides. There'll be a safety brief. Kickstands up at 11, 4 p.m. last bike in. They got a nice ride planned. Rain date of 6/22. Special thanks to Racey's Harley Davidson. Special thanks to Gear Key for providing live music. VFW 4139 is the final stop. There'll be a 50/50 auction, silent auction, food, cash bar. A big shout out to Chapter 65 of the Freedom Cruisers for taking this, making this event possible and helping out Project Brotherhood Resolve. Thank you to Joe for coming all the way over here. 3 hours. I know I've driven it. Super cool having him in studio. Great guy and definitely the real deal. He doesn't just talk the talk. He definitely walks it. Did you find the poem?
Yeah, I found it. And
all right.
While we're still giving shout outs, shout out to, again, Chapter 65, Freedom Riders, and Rick Gonzalez, a.k.a. Taz, for giving us this opportunity. For PBR. Yeah, I found it. So the one that I originally had for like 4 years, it never had the author, and I just found it, and it had an author. I'm not sure if it's the original one or not. It's dated February 16, 24. The title of it is I Wish You Could See Your Suicide. And the first time I read this one was 2018, and get your tissue boxes out, and if you are, feeling down and dirty and going down that rabbit hole, it's going to kind of put some stuff into perspective for you as well. So, all right, here we go. I wish you could see your suicide. You didn't mean to hurt anyone. That's what the priest told us during the funeral mass. It sounds good, at least. I'd love to ask what you were thinking, but, well, the ship has sailed. None of us outside that casket are going to know what was going through your mind right before the bullet. We never got to see the pain inside you or see the world through your eyes that were always tinged with darkness. Just like you'll never get the chance to see what I'm seeing now, what we all see. What we saw. I wish you could see the faces of your wife and kids when they found you. I wish you could hear that phone call to your parents, to your brother, the raw ache in their voice. I wish you could read the Facebook post that they had to put up less than a day later to stop all the rumors. I wish you could read the comments. I wish you could sit in painful silence on the drive that people are making from across the country to pay their respects. One flew in from Texas, even though he hasn't spoken a word to you in 3 years. Another drove across 6 states to be here. Everyone you would expect to be there is, probably many that you didn't. I showed up half an hour before the ceremony and got the last seat in the chapel. It's the same chapel you went to the last time you ever attended a Mass. I wish you could see that chapel now. I wish that you could see those people all looking for answers that only you can give, answers that you never will. I wish that you could hear the things they say about you during the service. A tough old guy chokes up trying to describe the kind of man you were. A friend from back home reminds us all of your jokes, your laugh. Tears well up in your best friend's eyes when he describes the text that you sent him the day you pulled the trigger. I wish that you had called instead. Him, your wife, your priest, anyone. The chapel is full of people who would have done anything you'd ask if they knew this was the alternative. A huge photograph sits on an easel next to your closed casket. You're smiling. That's what we all saw. Most of us never saw the things that led to this day. Those of us that did never knew how it hurt you. It hurt some of us too. Some of us, it hurts still. I wish you could see your wife and children as they pay their last respects. They hold her up, one on each side. She sobs as she touches the casket. Everyone talked about how much you loved those kids. Everyone said you were a wonderful father. You'd be proud of them today. But I wish you could see them graduate. I wish you could walk your daughter down the aisle. I wish you could give them advice on how to battle that inner darkness, that terrible burden that you have passed on to them. Now the mournful parade is finished. Everyone gives their prayers and their best wishes. All that's left in the chapel annex is some leftover pasta and a few half-empty soda bottles. Your wife and kids drive to this crematorium. They return to a house that is exactly the same except that it is missing you. I wish you could see your children as they go to their separate rooms, to wrestle with their separate demons. I wish you could curl up next to your wife in that half-empty bed and tell her that it wasn't her fault. I wish you could see your suicide. I wish someone like you sees this and makes a different choice. That was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Yeah. I think we're going to leave it right there. Life is short, bikers.
Yep. If you're going through something, ask for help, get help, and you don't have to deal with it yourself alone. There's always somebody out there that's willing to help.
Definitely. We're out of here. Thanks for listening to the Mid-Michigan Biker Podcast.